There we are. Hi, everybody. This is Oakwalker. My name is Oakwalker, and this is Frank, my good friend Stronghorse Caldwell. And we are here to do earth medicine for the soul. We like to have these informal discussions about the kinds of traditional, spiritually oriented things that we've both been experiencing in our own lives and in our own journey. So here we go today. I want to kick this over to Frank because he's got a he's got an inkling of what he wants to talk about, and it has to do with knowing. So it's
Yeah, there's a big difference between knowledge and knowing. Um,
we need to define that.
knowing,
Yeah.
yeah, knowing is not an opinion. Knowing is an art. It's something that you develop through and you refine through alignment. It's something that you work on. It doesn't just come overnight. Like I on the break I was laughing talking about. It's you know you want to get to a place where you're getting direct information from source. And that's a stair step process.
Yeah.
Your knowing starts out light. It keeps building and building. You become better and better and better, and your energy body, your spirit energy body, it aligns itself with the vibrations, with the frequencies that are necessary to achieve these things. And when we were talking about alignment in the last session, we talked about the stars and the Star Nation people, how important that is, as
Hmm.
well as the consciousness of the Earth. And once the first step, of course, is to accept the fact that the Earth has consciousness and that the stars have consciousness and that there are beings within this consciousness, and beings included the trees, the minerals, the animals, the waters, the
Hmm.
mountains. All of these things have consciousness, and they are already have knowing.
Yes.
They operate in a world of knowing. That's how they are. And so if you approach them without any knowing, you're really considered a threat
Yeah.
because you're essentially coming at them from a place of that they aren't at. And so
Yeah. It must therefore be disharmonious.
yeah, it's disharmonious, and therefore they immediately go into defensive mode, which any of us would do. I mean, if you're around somebody who's angry or violent or something, you feel that energy. I better be prepare myself to deal with the situation,
Yeah.
or you're going to be surprised. But
Right.
the point being is that colonialism basically brought knowledge into worlds of knowing. Knowledge is something that is formulated by the experiences of man as he records his experiences. And
Yes.
then they pass those experiences on, and somebody else's, they study those experiences, and then they add their experiences, and it's sort of a layered interpretations of one experience to another. And we
Egoic
call that,
experience too. Yeah.
huh?
It's egoic
Yeah,
experience, right? It's
yes,
what the
egoic
egos are
experience.
doing.
Right. And it is not incorporating the consciousness of what is around you. You're not incorporating the consciousness of the planet. You're not incorporating the consciousness of the stars of people. You're
Hmm.
not incorporating the consciousness of the creator.
Right?
And so it's a very self-centered, egotistical, check me out and this is what I know. And,
Yeah.
if you don't like what I know, then I'm going to hit you in the face because,
Yeah.
you know,
And you
and
can't
so it's,
align. Go ahead.
go ahead. No,
You
go ahead.
can't align and you can't align with these until you can shut up.
Right.
Right? All of these stair step practices that we do from the beginning of when we just go, ooh, aha, wait, what? And then we build and build and build through years and years of sweat lodges and experiences and rituals and medicine journeys and all of this stuff. It's all teaching us to just shut up. right? It goes
Right.
back to get out of your own way. And that's why I keep saying this, the alignment is a relaxing. And I wish I knew what happened to humans, that it's as if the whole planet operates around them and they're not really in it.
Right. No, exactly. There, you can't expect to be in a place of love and peace when you're not even conscious of what's going on around you. You know,
Mhm.
because you're in a constant fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
constantly. You know, that's just and you know the survival of the fittest, and so people end up doing things they would never do in a world of knowing
Hmm.
because it would be considered to be just insanity. I mean, it
Yeah.
really would. I mean, like you and I were talking about, you know, I mean, I wanted to bring this up. I guess I'll fit it in here. Recently, I read where this actually a 15-year-old kid up in Quebec
Hmm.
uh, he took a bunch of Mayan star maps and satellite images and overlaid them on the Yucatan, and he showed where all of the cities of the various cities of the Mayans are in complete alignment with the Pleiades.
Uh-huh.
So
That's cool.
direct reflection, and they did that on purpose.
Oh
You know, they
yeah, I
did that
bet.
on purpose because the as above and the so below, they wanted to create that on a
Oh,
three,
that's
you
beautiful.
know, 24/7, 360 day, I mean, or whatever their calendar was, but they wanted to create that environment where it was just everywhere, you know, and so that's why they did their pyramids. That's why and, you know, they connected into the stars. And so they lived in a world of knowing,
Yeah.
and it was harmonious and there was a synchronicity. They
Yep.
understood the nature spirits. They worked with the nature spirits to create their crops. You know, they got information, what this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
So they were operating at maximum effect with minimum effort.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
nobody was running around going, look at me, look how well, until the Aztecs came. Then they started doing sacrifice. And
Uh-huh.
when they did that, they took the pipe away from them.
Oh yeah.
Very few people do that.
Uh-huh.
They took they violated they violated the sacredness of what was going on with the planet. And I was listening to a guy on Facebook today who's a doctor to follow up on what you were saying about just shut up. And he
Uh-huh.
was talking about when he was a kid and he was camped up in the Arctic or somewhere up in Canada. And he said he got up in the middle of the night and he said he walked outside and it was like 20 below or something. And he said the silence was just deafening. You know, he said he said it was unbelievable. He said I could hear the stars, I could hear every crinkle of icicle in the trees, and when the
Uh-huh.
wind blew, and he said it changed his life forever. You know,
Yeah.
because he realized that in that silence is everything that we need.
Yeah.
And he grew up to be a doctor. Then he went into hospice care, and now he does teaches and lectures around, and it's all about. And he says, and what he's saying is, we got to stop going outside of ourselves and chasing around trying to find out what's really sacred and what isn't, and just make everything sacred. You
Yeah.
know, make everything sacred.
Because it is.
It's already here, man. You
Yep.
know, just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. Like
That's the
I gave
thing.
that example to us the other day when I was in that stream in the Sierra Madres and the spirit of the stream showed up and went, "There's a man in my river, and he acknowledging me." What? You know.
It's been a
So
while.
if we could just acknowledge it and say, "Hey, I know you're here.
Hmm.
Let's get together. You know,
Yeah.
let's create a circle. Let's I mean, I mean, I really think that that's where we're headed. I think that's where the
Yeah.
alignment is headed.
And that's the thing. So I'm going to tell you a little story because I've been all my life, I've done, gone through cycles. and I've had periods where I didn't do anything, to stay aligned with spirit. I was, working and, blah, blah, blah. I got all, even after my great, all this work, after years and years and years and years of practicing, right? I still have always had periods of not doing anything and sort of neglecting my spiritual path and stuff. I don't think that's entirely abnormal. I believe that a lot of people go through different cycles of practice basically and diligence in their spiritual journey. And I guess that's just a human thing. I hope so because that's what I've been doing. But so lately, just what exactly you said. There's this little pond out behind my house, you know. It's just a retention pond, but the mesquites have grown up in the last few years. And it's really quite a sweet sight. I get egrets out there. We've got ducks. I'm in the middle of town in Lockhart, Texas, right? I'm in the middle of town and I've got the ducks and the egrets and the geese come down in there, and of course there's all the starlings. I've got murmuration going on out here. It's just really a little tiny microcosm of nature. And what I've been doing lately in order to stay connected and reconnect is I just go out every morning and I take either a glass of water or my first sip of coffee, whatever is the first thing that's going to go in me, and I take it out there and I just acknowledge the spirit of the water in that pond and the spirit of the earth and the trees. And I check out what the stars are doing. It takes 5 minutes, all of 5 minutes. And then I give a little bit of my drink to the earth and I take my first sip and really appreciate. And I've been doing this for a while now and it's beautiful. And even my dog wakes up and comes out with me and just sits next to me while I do that. And then when we're done, she turns around, goes right on back inside. She knows exactly what's going on there. And
Wow.
it's just beautiful. But it's all about how the earth, it's so welcoming. I can feel them, those spirits of just the land and the water, just um saying thank you for that. Thank you for acknowledging us. Thank you for being at least somebody who's trying to get back into realignment with these energies, right? The earth energies. It's a good thing.
Yeah, well,
I, go,
they've been neglected for so long. I mean,
right.
they have been. They just, I mean, and they've been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I remember when I first moved onto my place. I've got these pecan trees that are, I don't know, probably over 50 years old. Well, probably a lot older than that. But
Yeah.
I pulled out my medicine pipe, walked around, and smoked on every one of them, and you could just tell they were like, "Oh my God,
What's
who's
happening?
who's the new neighbor?"
Yeah,
And I mean, in some cases, they're some of my closest compatriots.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's so all of these, I mean, all of these energies are out there waiting for us to wake up and just acknowledge them, so that they can, and then we can work with us, in a
Yeah.
way that is productive. So
Yeah.
it's
It's productive
I
and
think,
harmonious at the same time because really our survival depends on this. We are at that fulcrum, that meniscus of you get your shit together now or don't. You know, this is the
yeah,
time when you're either going to start realigning with the harmonious energies of the planet, or the planet doesn't need you anymore.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. And I think that this is kind of part of our effort here is to get people to just say, hey, just walk outside and say a prayer in the morning.
Yeah,
You know, just say a word. Thank the
just say
sun for coming up.
thanks.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, just say thanks. I mean, do something simple, man. It doesn't take a lot,
Hmm.
and it's appreciated, and it will come back to you, and
That's right.
so it will totally come back to you. And so if people will start realizing that for the very simplest, most inane act of kindness and respect and honoring,
Hmm.
that they will get it back 10, 15, 20, 100 fold. I mean, they
Yeah.
really will.
Because
And
the
and I think those proportions are going to keep increasing.
I do too. The Great Spirit is out there waiting, hoping to flood us with
Yeah,
with all of that beauty because there's such a void. The universe hates a void. This is something I've realized through my all of my work. The universe hates a void. So if you've got a place where there's no love, it's just dying to fill that up, which is an interesting point because that being the case, you can't use up the love you have. You can't give it all away and then not have any left, right? This is
right.
a this is a very, very fundamental piece of knowledge. This is a knowledge that you can transform into a knowing because the universe isn't ever going to be devoid of love, and you can give it. The more you give it, the bigger of a hollow bone you're going to become to give more and more and more and more and more. And it's always there. It's always available. There's always more love ready to fill you back up as soon as you give it out. And that is not true of hatred. Hatred is closing off. It's a sphinctering down. Okay, if I'm a hollow bone for love, or a hollow, the feather tube, whatever I am that's hollow and transmitting love, I get bigger and bigger and bigger when I transmit that. But the opposite of that is the paranoia, the fear, it's fear that everybody wants to take everything you have, the fear that everything that you're going to be diminished, the fear that everything is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And now you are a sphincter closing, right? You're an asshole, just
Yeah, no, absolutely.
shutting
I
yourself
like
right
that's a
up. That's
great
where assholes
analogy.
come from. And
That's
so,
exactly right.
yeah, and that's what I'm aligning with. And that's what I want to do more of. And we need to do this. That has to become mainstream if we're going to survive this mess.
Well, I like your example too of you said that here's some knowledge that will become knowing, and it becomes knowing by practicing the knowledge.
Yeah.
And if you're telling somebody, look, if you're doing acts of kindness, if you're sharing your love, if you're acknowledging consciousness around you, your vessel, you use it with the way you did your hands, your vessel expands.
Hmm.
It continues to expand because it is aligning, and it's harmonious with more energetics around you than if you're doing your angst and your hatred and you're turning yourself into an asshole because your vessel's shrinking,
Yeah.
and so as it shrinks, your opportunities shrink
Uh-huh.
because you can't handle anymore. You can't handle consciousness that's available to you. There's no room.
Yeah.
There's no room for it. You
You can't.
know,
Yep.
they're like knocking, like, hey man, let us in. You're like, nobody home. Sorry.
Right.
So if you expand yourself, so by you doing that morning ceremony, you're expanding your vessel. And I think you,
Yeah.
you told me the other day you actually felt this portal appear. And I think that
Yeah.
that is emblematic of what we're talking about. Is that was a direct, like, yeah, we get it, man. We see you.
Hmm.
Here's a little gift.
Hmm.
And so one of the ironic things is when your knowing expands, your knowledge also expands.
Yeah. Even that egoic
It's
knowledge. Yeah. So,
so you get into you get into a place where, and all of this is headed towards a world of co-creation,
Hmm.
spirit to spirit co-creation. You
Yeah.
know, as your knowing expands and your vessel expands, your capabilities expand
Uh-huh.
spiritually. And
Right.
so you're available on a much grander scale, on a much grander basis to accept and to learn from more and embody more knowing in order to share that out because you've demonstrated to these conscious energies around you that you got the right formula, that you can
Yeah.
do this,
Yeah.
you
That you
want to
can,
do it, and it's your
yeah,
intention to do it. So you
that
know
you can
they'll answer if
transmit.
you ring the
Yeah,
bell, man. They'll answer. I think.
that's right. I agree. I agree. And there's in nearly every tradition, you're going to hear some kind of verse that sounds a lot just like what you said. All the traditions are saying, just for Christ's sake, open up, or for whoever's sake that you're doing it for, just open
Right.
up, right? Let
Right.
it in because,
And I think that's probably what a lot of the, I've done ayahuasca. I didn't particularly care for it at all.
uh-huh,
Um, and I've done peyote. I've done a couple of peyote ceremonies, and I didn't particularly care for them either, really. Um, but I think that's what people are looking for. That they're looking for that opening up. That's
yeah,
probably what the whole LSD thing was about too. I never
to yeah,
did it
the
acid.
yeah, the plant medicines and the psychedelics really are excellent if they're handled properly. They should never be used recreationally, in my opinion, even though I
Right.
did, and I had to undo a lot of the damage I did by using them recreationally. But in the right circumstances, with a proper guide, I really think that the plant medicines are extremely useful. But there are a lot of people who disagree with me. Um, Har what was his name?
Heartland or
Um,
something like that.
Yeah, now I
The-
can't remember who he was, but
I think
he was uh I even probably have his
I
book
think he
here
was
somewhere.
located out in Sausalito.
I think he was. Anyway, he brought a lot of shamanism really early on. He brought shamanism back into the consciousness of the United States, and he was an anthropologist. So he had that thing where you don't go join the culture that you're studying. You know, you have to look into it from the outside. And that was his thing. And he's completely anti-psychedelics. He doesn't like them at all because he understands that there are plenty of other ways to get yourself into that kind of a trance. You know, some people spin, some people get bit by rattlesnakes, some people drum. Drumming is a really good way to get yourself into that trance. And it's that state of being where you're no longer trying to insist that your presence in the universe is the most important thing anymore. Now you're willing to do that opening. You're willing to take that opening. In the plant medicines, they just knock that right out of it. It's just like, oh
Right.
yeah, all that stuff. You know, we're not doing that right now. And you're going to be here for 8 hours, so just deal with
Right. When was the last time you threw up? Well, here we go.
it. Yep.
Got rid of that pretty
So
quick. No
yes,
problem.
yeah, and so I do that. I'm actually a um, qualified leader of that kind of a ceremony. So I really feel like I'm a good guy to go do that with, even though I don't particularly like doing it all that much anymore. I'm getting too old, I think, for it, and
Yeah.
you know just makes me feel sick now.
Well, I think the important thing is that to understand is that the plant world, who are the givers in my tradition, um, you know, they have held the space.
Uh-huh.
You know, they have held the space, and so for everything really. I mean,
Yeah.
if all the pharmaceuticals have come out of the plant world. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
one way or
word drug
another.
comes from the Dutch word druga, which means dried plant. And as long
Yeah,
as
and
we're
actually, I read somewhere where pharmaceuticals actually comes from a word that means sorcerer.
That's
Which,
entirely possible, isn't it?
yeah,
Um, I just want to throw in here real quick that my herbal training is also called plant spirit medicine. So even if it wasn't a psychedelic, the way we approached learning the herbs was we would get to know the spirit of that plant. Like if I were studying chamomile, I would wear it, I would eat it, I'd spend a month with chamomile, you know, and just meditate on it and talk to it and talk to the spirit of that plant and find out exactly what it is that you're in my, why are you in my quiver? Do you want to be in my quiver? You know, which is when I say quiver, I mean that bag of tools, my toolkit. Um, and that's the way it works around here in my apothecary. So I think that that's the same thing with the crystal people. Everyone's trying to, all of these, it's called New Age and stuff like this, but really what people are trying to do is just get to the consciousness that's already inherent in these things, crystals,
right.
plants, the world at large, and my retention pond, and you know your river.
The, pro- the problem is that too many of them are approaching it from the standpoint of an opportunity to create personal value,
Yeah,
a
exactly.
personal identity, and
Uh-huh.
they're using it as a prop, like,
Yeah.
hey, check me out, I'm a crystal person, or this or
Yeah.
that, and
There's that.
they
There's always going to be that.
and that totally screws the whole thing up, man.
Yeah.
It really does. It defeats the whole purpose. But every time I see that, I go, well, look, the reality is we're on the early stages of the transition, and we're all children. We're all going to pick up stuff. We'll make mistakes,
Yeah.
like we said at the end of our stuff. The only perfection is the creator,
I
because the
agree.
rest of us are, we're like in a dark room trying to feel our way around, like, oh God, I stumped my toe. you know, what's that? I picked something up.
Yeah.
That's just reality, man. And
Yeah.
it's going to take a
It's,
while for us to grow out of that.
yeah, it is. I think so too. Um, God, I had such a great sentence and it just went right out of my head. Because I, like you, I was completely irresponsible in the early days of my training.
Right,
I had this
right,
one
right.
experience where, we finally, we did our entrancement thing, and this one was not plant spirit, but it was just a good meditation. We got there and they're like, okay, go get with your guides. And my guides were like, oh yeah, you can fly, you can swim in the stars. And I was like, I'm swimming in stars, people. And after that whole thing, they said, yeah, you're not going to do that again for a while.
Yeah. Well, my story was, we went out to East Texas and picked mushrooms, and literally, like it was like the furry freak brothers, man. Had this guy chase farmers chase us with his shotgun. You hippies, get out of my life! Oh shit, are we hippies? I didn't know that. So, so, but I was living on a ranch at the time, and so my neighbor's cattle had gotten in on the property, and so I had to saddle up my horse and go out and herd them up and get them back up. And I thought, well, I'll do a couple of these mushrooms and see what they're like. so, so I'd chew up two of these things, saddle my horse, go riding out. I get about halfway, I'm like, oh man. Next thing I look at, and I'm like, oh my God, well, this is going to be something. and, and I had to chase these cows through a forest. When we got back, my horse was like, what is going on? Because
What's wrong with
I
you?
turned into Cowboy Bob, man. Oh my God. I had a good time, but I thought that was probably not smart, but
Hmm.
that's just emblematic of, we're kids,
Yeah,
kids
just
trying stuff out. So here's a new toy.
yep.
See what we can do with it,
We're
And
still
now
in
we're
baby steps,
old men trying to make sense of it all, So
right? There you
just
go.
roll.
So let's close up. Kindness, the little things go a long ways. You can never run out of love. And what else did you have? Am I missing anything?
Well, that yeah, I think that
That
the
knowledge
knowing
is
is going
not
to be
knowing is
this.
not an opinion.
Yeah,
I'm
knowing
sorry.
is not an opinion. It's art. It's something that you have to work on and develop.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be the cornerstone of the new world.
I think that's what
You
the
know,
shift is all about. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that we talked a lot about beauty. That
Hmm.
about whether or not you're able to appreciate the beauty in things, or are you still just of the corporate mindset and you're chasing the dollar and don't have a clue what's going on around you. I mean, those people are going to have a problem. I think with as this shift continues and the new world comes in, and so, what we're trying to do, and we'll do a little commercial here in our donate button. We're looking to help try to fund a wilderness site for us to be able to take people out and put them in ceremony and
Yeah,
teach
that'd be
them
great.
transition into knowing. So, anybody wants to support that, feel free to help us out. But
Yep.
if nothing else, we're trying to give tidbits of information to everybody so that they at least have a chance to start thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And just have we'll offer support along the way as we go. It's all okay. Everything's going to be okay because you're safe in the
Uh,
universe, whether or not you feel safe in your body. Okay.
yeah, I
Um,
think I feel good. I feel like I feel complete. How about you?
yeah, let's sign off by saying only the Great
Only the Great
Spirit
Spirit is
is
perfect.
perfect. Good night, everybody. Come and see us again
Good
soon.
night.
Bye
All
bye.
right.